Okay, so this video is going to walk you through on how to do a Volkswagen ignition lock repair. This is one of my favorite jobs. We charge $489 in San Diego to do this repair. And the cool thing is the customer can continue to use their original key. There's nothing wrong with the key. There's actually nothing even wrong with the ignition cylinder. It's the housing behind the cylinder that has the problem. Anyways, dealerships usually charge well over $1,000. Auto mechanics are expensive as well, and usually a mechanic is just going to replace one for one the whole ignition lock and give them new keys, which means now their door key doesn't match the ignition key. It creates new problems. Our repair customer continue to use their original key, and it's just repairing the existing housing. So no replacement parts are needed. I would strongly recommend going to the junkyard, pulling an ignition lock out yourself so you can get the practice on that, taking it apart so you can get practice putting it back together, and you'll see how we do that in this video. And then it's also a good idea to have a spare Volkswagen ignition lock housing just for some spare parts, because sometimes some things do break and do need to be replaced, but that's actually not even very common. The symptoms that the customer will tell you they're experiencing are they can't turn their key on or off. Like sometimes the ignition is stuck in the on position, they can't turn the vehicle off. Those are the symptoms if you hear, you will want to quote this repair, and 99 times out of 100, this is the problem. Every now and again, you will need some spare parts, so go to the junkyard and get one. You can also buy some spare housing from nobleKeySupply.com. Enjoy.
Lift up. And then there's breakaway bolts down there. Let's see it. Here. I can't do this backwards. And right here. Alright, you can stop recording. We take a nail set and get up close to where you can see what I'm doing. We'll go right on the breakaway bolt. Use a hammer and get the bolt to turn. Okay. Set that aside. Do the other one. Now these are coming out super easy. So sometimes they don't come out that easy. I'm making it look easy for the video. Alright. There it is. Yep. So now, the steering wheel won't turn because of the bolt, but because I took those breakaway bolts out, I can pull down on it and pull the steering wheel lock out of the housing, and now this can turn. Okay? And now I can get to the screw that's right here and on the other side. So let's take that screw out. A longer driver would be a good idea. Okay. Screw there, and then turn. So the steering wheel lock is engaged, so pull this down, pull down on the ignition lock to pull the ignition bolt out and get it to turn. And take this other screw out. Okay, there's that. There's gonna be one underneath. There. Cut. Screw. And just pull this off, set it aside. And there's your ignition lock. Now, this one has, sometimes there's a black box right here, which is a separate video. But this one just comes out super easy. So all you do is reach up in here with the flathead screwdriver. Push in that little black tab and pull down. There you go. Easy. Unplug it. Unplug your immobilizer wire right here. And we'll unplug so that right there moves up and slides off. I should unplug this first. Slides off. And then leave that. And unplug the starter switch. Done. Now you have your Volkswagen Ignition lock out of the car. Yay.
Okay, so this is the black box that I was just referring to in the other, when we were at the junkyard. The vehicle at the junkyard did not have it, but if you do come across this, you will need to know how to remove it. So I wanted to include some screenshots of what it looked like and how to go about removing it. These two red circles identify the two clips that hold it on. All you have to do is push those tabs in to release it. The problem is you can't see them. I use an Allen key to reach in, like in this picture here, push the tab in, release it.
Alright, so the address is 87.
Release
Perfect.
clip.
I'll shoot you over a text shortly, okay?
Down, and then come in behind
And the zip
and push in on the clip.
Oh.
Alright.
Okay, that's it.
Okay. Alright. There you pull down. There you go. Okay, pull it down and show the people. Okay. Don't pull it down too hard, you're gonna break it. Just push, use the tool to push on that little springy tooth. Perfect. Boom, perfect. Okay. Yep, pull down on it, perfect. Okay.
Problem. You have to turn this to the accessory position to get the immobilizer ring and lock cylinder off. Okay? But you can't turn it. That's the freaking problem, right? So what I do is I take some pliers and I grab onto it because it just eats your finger up because you're sitting here. Sometimes it takes like half an hour just messing with it. It will eventually turn, okay? So I'll sit here like this, bink, 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 bink with this, just some pliers, and nothing's happening. I'll bang on it, take a rubber mallet and bang on it, because what you're trying to do is move the broken piece out of the way so the cylinder can actually turn, and boom, then you get it and you finally got it. Now, as you see the dot here, and then the hole, I got a pointer. Right here, and you got the hole right there. Those need to align. So in the off position, they're not aligned. And it's got to be a full click over, not just it's kind of close. If it hasn't clicked over, they are not aligned. So once it aligns, then you use your ignition lock removal tool to remove this, okay?
Okay.
Alright, so this is the Volkswagen Ignition Lock removal tool. The big ones. I like the big fat ones. Okay. Take your Volkswagen Ignition Lock removal tool, stick it down into the hole, and what you're trying to do, sometimes I'll take some pliers and get a grip on it so I can kind of push it.
She would not say a word for it, and she was like struggling. So I was like, I'm just gonna type this out for you. Yeah. And when I say this, exactly this, it will help you so much. And that's pretty much. Oh, look at that. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Boom. There it
I've done the whole thing. I'm like, okay.
Okay, comes off.
Scheduling.
So what's happening?
Thank you for calling the Locksmith. How can I help you?
So you can see the paper clip moving down
Okay.
the hole here. You see it?
Yeah.
Did you have the 2000?
So now if I pull it out, you see this lock right here, spring loaded? That pops out.
Okay.
And it goes into the channel down in there. And that's what holds this in. So all you're trying to, well, all you're doing is pushing this paper clip down, and it pulls that lock in,
Exactly. Yes, ma'am.
and then the paper clip holds it in place. That's all that's happening. Okay?
Yeah. and-
Nothing is wrong with this. This is not the problem. Okay? Set this aside. All we're gonna do is take this thing apart. Just take all the pieces out. Remove the broken parts, and then put it back together. Okay?
Oh wow.
The feature that's broken, we're literally removing, and it is not needed. Okay? So we're just gonna take it out, throw it away. Okay? So first step is remove this little plastic retainer ring thingy. This white ring right here. Okay? And then remove whatever that is called. I don't know what it's called. Then we're going to remove the spindle. For this part, you need to turn it to the off position. So remember, we had turned it to the run position, right? So we'll turn it off. And you'll see the steering wheel bolt popped up.
Oh yeah.
See the steering wheel bolt right there?
Yeah, thank you.
So remember when I was in the car and I pushed down on this and then I was able to turn the steering wheel?
Yeah.
It's because I pulled that bolt, which was up, extended. I pulled the whole thing down and out of the steering wheel.
Okay.
Allowed the steering wheel to turn. I could remove those two screws, whatever. Okay, so now this is off. We can just remove.
And so, and then the cheapest price, and the hospitality was really good. Like people were really nice and friendly, and so my friend.
Remove the spindle. Okay. Okay. So this is normally broken. Okay. It shot out just now because it's not broken. It was spring loaded the way it's supposed to be. It was properly functional. Now it's just going to be removed because it's not needed. So this comes out, and this is usually smashed. It comes out. And then there's usually a couple of broken pieces of metal floating around in here that break off from down inside there. Okay? So there's a couple more things that we need to remove. That big spring and that little thing that it sits on. So that spring sits on that.
So that one would be for like.
Okay.
So it's not an actual. Right. Yeah. Insert and turn. Yeah. So it's a proximity key. So the lock and unlock buttons on proximity keys are always going to be on there. Yeah.
Okay, great. And then do I?
For the options. So now we need to figure out which one the customer.
Okay. So your steering wheel lock
So did it have just lock button?
is now
Did it have a trunk button?
free to come
Did
out.
it have
Just
a
set it aside.
Start button.
Right.
And now
So
it's empty.
what I would
Okay.
say is that list.
There's usually a broken piece right there.
Were there any other buttons besides
When this breaks, it breaks that off, and that's what floats around and jams the whole thing up along with this. Okay?
Point at it one more time.
It's usually just a broken piece off of right here.
So then what
see that shelf?
Yeah.
It just cracks and a piece breaks off. Just throw it, take it out, throw it away. Make sure there's no debris in there. And we're almost done. You can move this. You have to remove that.
My little black plug
Okay.
over there.
So this now has to come out. Okay. So part of this repair is removing the broken piece, removing this, and removing this. Okay? It's your handy dandy vise. This is the one I use. And you're just gonna drill straight through this.
Have you eaten lunch yet? If you want pizza, there's pizza in there.
Now the reason I'm pulsing it is because this little sucker will start spinning. See how the whole thing is spinning? I made it all the way through before it started spinning. But when it starts spinning and you're trying to go through, it's hard.
You know what they look like.
So I start to size up to a slightly larger drill bit. Do you have your nail sets in here?
My nail sets.
It's possible though. Next time I come in, I'll try to bring.
And then just make a bigger hole. See how the whole thing is spinning? So now I'm through. Now be careful. Straight down. And the reason, if you break that off in there,
5'1", so short.
you just made it a lot harder. Okay? And I've done that and this sucked. Okay, stop recording. Remember the nail set that we used to get the breakaway bolts out?
Yeah.
That was the larger one of these, and now I use the medium sized one here. And the reason is because this is hardened steel, and I need to stick this in and bend. Anything else will bend. If you try to use a pick like this, it will break. The tip will break off in there. This, same thing, it'll break off. This won't break. Stick it in that hole that you made, pry it out. Okay? Just like that. It is spring loaded, so there's a little spring down in there. And then there's one more piece that comes out. And just push it out.
What is the make and model of your vehicle? Okay, you got it.
There it
Give me
is.
one moment.
Okay?
Alright, well, actually,
So
maybe
all of
our
that
ignition
comes out
lock,
and
the
stays out.
ignition lock.
Everything else goes
Okay.
back in.
Did you dial the
Sometimes there's like some broken pieces of stuff. Ooh, right there. Ooh, this one was broken.
Okay, perfect.
Oh, interesting.
A little bit of research.
So there it is.
Call right back, okay?
Remember I told you a piece breaks off that shelf?
Yeah.
Right there. So this lock was this just ready to fail. And what happens is that breaks off, and then this, I don't know what breaks first, but a clear sign that the repair needs to be done is when you find this inside the lock, okay? So this is all the crap that comes out of the lock and stays out of the lock. Got it?
This is where all of our inventory is, all of that good stuff.
So clean out the debris. I was wondering why there's so much debris in here. This one was broken. Or like ready to break. So we're repairing the junkyard. That's great. It's metal shit. Okay. All right, now. So the starter switch back here, leave it alone. Don't mess with it. The first thing that goes in is the bolt. Make sure you got two springs, a big one and a small one, okay? And you'll know how the alignment goes because you see those two little pointy things down at the bottom, okay? The big one goes on the big one and the small one goes on the small one. Easy. So just line it up. Boom. Okay. Steering wheel lock bolts. Now, put your spring back down in there. Sometimes it's in two pieces, this and this. I like to just kind of stick it on there like that and just stick it straight down in the hole.
Are you able to search ignition?
Okay. Good goddamn. And our little shelf. So little shelf guy goes in, down in the bottom. Yeah, we'll respond to you.
Japanese car, yes, it's a
And then the spring.
Within the hour, we should know.
Okay. Then the spindle. Right here. Okay.
No problem.
Now sometimes this will break right here. Okay. Good idea to have an extra one of these. So I always have like a whole extra one of these in my van, because if that breaks, then I just pull that piece out and swap it in. Then I make sure I get another one. Okay, you can get these at the junkyard like we did. We also sell them on noblekeyssupply.com. So drop it down in there.
Let's say, for instance. Okay, so now you're focusing all this thing, you're probably like, what so many options. Okay. Well,
And what you want to do
gets it on
is turn it to the on position.
an option for this year.
Okay, so that
It is for the newer Toyotas, but not
should
the
be
older ones.
not
I don't know
there.
why it pops up. It says it is compatible. I think they might have done something to make it compatible, and like this is a cool option, like you can purchase if you want.
Good.
But that's
Get in
definitely
there.
not what the original key is going to look like. So, insert and turn.
Okay.
And then
So it goes all the way down, make sure it's seated properly, and then to the on position, which is right there.
So now listen
And you can know that because of the bolt goes down. And then you can also turn it further to crank and then back to on, okay? Which is right there.
So
Now we're gonna put this guy in.
all you'll do is just
So this goes in,
so let's
that tip lines up, you know, male to female. And this spring, you'll see that there's little channels all the way around, and then there's two channels over here. And one of these channels has a little shelf on it. A little shelf right down there. That's where this spring goes. So that spring goes down that channel and sits on that little shelf, and that's how you know you got it right. And line up that spindle.
Okay.
Yeah. And then same thing with Toy 44G and Toy 44G. It's the same
Damn
thing,
it.
except this one
There it
doesn't
is.
have
Okay.
the
And now
Yeah. It's just
it's
like-
working
but it will
properly.
start the car
Okay.
because it's a transponder key.
So turn it to the on position. Last piece that goes in is that little retainer plastic clip thingy, and you just shove it in there.
Down here, you click on it, you go to
Push it
additional
down
details, and then it's
and make
always
sure
going
it's
to the IPS
seated
SKU.
Okay.
Is the-
properly all the way around, and it is, and it's done. Last step,
And that's part of the number that.
put your
Exactly, yes, that was-
ignition lock back in,
It's
take
a
your
lot
paper
easier
clip,
with the just says
Yeah.
out,
up, it'll be
Yeah.
a lot
and
easier. It already is a whole lot easier
that
to navigate.
connector goes through the goalposts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could you have to click on additional?
Make sure you turn
Exactly, yeah,
it
community should just like they were showing me those
to the
tweets
on
about
position.
Toyotas and like that's,
Right.
it's like why that's
Right.
not a thing. It is for the newer Toyotas.
Why is that? That's what-
2019.
Okay, there it goes. Okay, so turn the key to where it lines up, and then you're done.
These would be the right key, like the one- if it was a turn key.
Key on.
Newer Toyotas and Lexuses.
Got it?
If you see right here,
Repair.
this key will
Done.
only work for Japan. Japan is
Okay, so a couple final thoughts here. In order to put the ignition lock back on, you just clip it back in and use the same breakaway bolts, and then just use a hammer and a nail set to tighten those bolts back up. That works fine. Just make sure you get those bolts as tight as you possibly can, and then kind of shake the ignition lock and make sure it's nice and sturdy and not moving around, and then it'll be just fine. Otherwise, you could buy new breakaway bolts. I'm not sure who sells them. I've never bought them. And you can put new breakaway bolts in, but I don't think it's necessary. Also, as you can see here, this is a list of the vehicles that this repair can apply to. This is very common failure in Volkswagens and Audis, mostly Volkswagens. 90% of them are going to be Jettas. The vast majority of those vehicles will need this repair eventually. Basically what happens is there's a mechanism inside of the lock where a bar drops down and restricts the ignition lock to turning back to crank once the ignition is running. The lock would have to be turned off and then back to crank again. The problem is that that mechanism fails, and that's what causes this thing to jam up. Whenever a customer calls and says, my key won't turn in my ignition for my Volkswagen, or my key won't turn off, this is the repair if it's one of the vehicles listed on the screen here. Go out and don't be intimidated by this job. Give us a call at tech support if you need help, but this video should give you a step-by-step guide on how to do it, and I would encourage everybody to go to the junkyard and attempt this repair on a junkyard car, and then you'll have one, the experience, and then two, spare parts after you do that. So happy hunting. Let us know if you have any questions. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.